Hey everybody, welcome to the Wrestling Inc. podcast. I'm Glenn Rubenstein. Tonight we're going to be talking about Payback, the WWE Raw pay-per-view. We got Raj Giri with us. We got the Blueprint, Matt Morgan. How's it going, guys?
Going good.
Good to see you, Matt. Good to see you, Raj. Missed Monday, the go-home show before this. So let's start with big picture thoughts. A lot of stuff happened tonight. Some stuff people didn't think would happen. Some stuff people think did. Matt, give us your big picture thoughts on the pay-per-view.
Nothing. Apparently, I bet you guys that Roman Reigns wouldn't have his shoulders ever pinned to the mat. So there's that for starters. I don't know. I thought I liked Alexa. I liked a lot of things on this pay-per-view. I did. But there's some other slow-moving matches as well that I thought slowed the pay-per-view down tremendously. That I wouldn't have suspected the matches that I'm talking about to do that. Beforehand going into it.
Yeah, it was interesting pacing. Raj, what'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, I thought, if you took out the Randy Orton, Bray Wyatt stuff, I thought it was a pretty good show. But I thought that stuff was just so bad that it just kind of really killed the whole pay-per-view. I thought it was that bad.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what's crazy? And I'll say this. People will be, critical of something. When you take a chance like that, it was a little hokey and stuff like that. The house changing colors, all hokey. Yeah. But I will say this. I applaud anybody that tries something new, okay? And the cool part is I guarantee you there'll be something that gets taken from that chance they took tonight that we will see later down the road, whether it's a year, 2 years, 5 years. Even that stuff with Broken Matt Hardy, the character that he was doing at TNA back then, same type of thing, where I think that they'll find something out of that we start to see on a weekly basis that we could look back on this type of chance they took and go, oh, I remember that one clip during that Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton match that we thought was ridiculous. But that one spot in it was pretty cool, that camera angle they used that they're now using all the time now.
I'm trying to think, when's the last time they did it? They cut to a pre-taped segment during a pay-per-view. I know on Raw we saw the New Day at the Wyatt compound last summer, but that was on Raw.
Well, how else would they do it? Like my whole thing, remember what I kept saying to you guys? Is the house going to be right next to the damn stadium? Like, the arena? That would be lame as hell.
Yeah.
No, that house was actually in Missouri. So they filmed it, earlier this week. But they should have filmed it, at least film it in the day to keep, a little consistency because, it's bright outside in San Jose when that match started.
It's still daylight outside now in California.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think of that.
Yeah. But, at least they didn't do any outside shots of the arena. So, it didn't kill the effect. But I don't know. I thought that thing was just hokier than hell. At least with the final deletion stuff, it was supposed to be comedy. And it was pretty funny that it was entertaining. This was supposed to be scary, I guess. And they had that stupid, eerie music in the background.
The music was horrible. They kept making.
Yeah, it was. I just thought this was just crap. But on the plus side, this feud is over. So,
thank God. Thank God. So let's go match by match. Matt, did you happen to watch any of the pre-show?
Yeah, I saw the whole thing.
Yeah. So Enzo and Big Cass versus Gallows. I think the big takeaway from that was that Enzo pinned somebody. Enzo won.
Yeah, I also liked how he started the match too. By the way, very aggressively mounting. Yeah, it gets a little unbelievable though at times, him mounting anybody and punching anybody, I could see lasting for like maybe 3 seconds, but what's the guy's name? I always forget his name. I'm the worst. Not Gallows, but Anderson.
Yeah.
There ain't no way Anderson's sitting there taking punches from him more than for 5 seconds in a realistic fight. But I did like the way that they kept the story going and being true to the story that he should be infuriated, whether he's a little chihuahua or not,
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely wouldn't have expected Enzo pinning Gallows, so that was a surprise. But this was one of those matches where it really doesn't matter at all who won. So
yeah.
Right. And you know what? It was good to have another tag team match on this show, though. I think that says that the tag division's getting a little better, right?
Yeah.
I just feel like I've been seeing this match forever, though. Remember Halloween they did that match and they put the pumpkin on Gallows' head.
Yeah.
So it doesn't progress anything, but it filled a spot.
Yeah.
That's true. Well, speaking of tag teams, after that we have the setup of Goldust and R-Truth challenging the Hardys, or the winner of the tag team championship match, to I don't know if it's a title shot, challenge, whatever. I'm assuming we're gonna see that in Raw tomorrow night with the Golden Truth versus the Hardys. But let's talk about one of the developments that got announced before this, the Miz and Finn. So if this is the feud going forward for a bit, what do you think of that, Matt, with Finn Balor going up against the Miz?
It's great, actually. I think this is perfect for Finn, quite honestly. I think Miz was on fire tonight. He did exactly what he needed to do. He's so good at stopping, when he's feeling the audience start to turn, and start to go for the face that he's talking about. Mm-hmm. And Finn, more than anybody right now, even more than Rollins, needs that to happen. He needs more reactions from the crowd right now, in my opinion. And this segment set it up perfectly. Think about it. We might be sick of seeing Miz get dumped on his head over and over, but if you're a Finn Balor fan and your goal is to see him get back to where he was, I think this is a stop he needs to take.
Yeah, I agree. I thought the interaction was great. I thought Miz was just awesome in this segment, and Finn, held up his own too. And fans were really behind him by the end, and I mean they were behind him the whole way. So he felt like a star. This felt like a big deal. It's weird because they'd kind of been building Dean Ambrose and the Miz over the past few weeks. But I don't mind at all that if they're switching away from that to go with Miz and Finn.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think that'll be solid. I mean, what do you guys think for Extreme Rules coming up in 5 weeks? I mean, it'll be here before we know it.
I mean, I don't really care when it, I just, the overall good for Finn Balor. This is just, a chapter that needs to happen. Where it happens, I don't know. When, I don't know. I just know it needs to get back to where he was at. He's got to have this. I just feel this stop along his journey right now.
I thought it was interesting them teasing him and Lesnar, because who knows, maybe for SummerSlam.
It just sounds so ridiculous, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. But it'll be a great match, though, if it happens.
How about Miz goes, I could break you in half.
Yeah, there's something with the Finn Brock dynamic that Finn is just, I hate to say it, but he's just too small for someone like Brock.
Yeah. Damn, yeah.
Well, we'll see. So let's talk about Jericho versus KO. Do you think it was going to go this way tonight, Matt, with Jericho winning back the U.S. champion?
What's the rule now? What happens?
He goes to SmackDown.
So he goes to SmackDown and Owens stays on SmackDown. So it was just like last week, I felt like was the first time they made it clear that Owens is on SmackDown regardless. And if Jericho won, then he would go.
Great for SmackDown.
So from what I understand, Jericho's gone after this week.
I'm off, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So he's probably dropping the title on Tuesday. I don't know if it's back to Owens and they do some sort of injury angle to write him off TV.
There you go.
Or they do it to someone like Corbin or someone like that.
It can't be. It has to be KO. He is the face of America right now. That's his new shtick.
The good thing, though, with getting it off of KO is you can get him back in that world title picture. You know what I mean?
Oh, KO?
Yeah.
I like that part of it, but then what do you do with the whole face of America? They put time into this.
I thought that was punishment when I was reading online, that Vince is basically making him wear a suit now because he won't work on his gut. And this is sort of like his punishment angle, is this face of America thing.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. But you know how the rumors are online. Sometimes one person's opinion. But I don't know. I mean, it could be AJ Tuesday. But for those that don't know, this was blowing up on Twitter. Fozzy, Jericho's band, has shows booked like every Tuesday night going forward and has a show the night of Backlash. So it's impossible for Jericho to go on SmackDown beyond this week.
Right. So they'll probably do an injury angle or something,
I think it'll happen. I think he'll somehow do it and get to his contract. I don't know. It has to happen, though. He's not walking out of the company for 7 months or whatever the hell long it is with the U.S. title.
I don't know. Brock's MIA with the Universal Championship. I mean, apparently we can just get by without it.
There's a difference between Brock and the world title and Jericho with the U.S. title.
Hey, I'm stoked, man. I'm going to be at SmackDown Tuesday night. I'm glad I'm going to get to see Jericho's last appearance for a while because I think this has been one of his best runs. I mean, he will be missed when he is gone.
Definitely.
Agreed. Even though I do think he lost a little steam once he turned babyface. Like he I don't know. He just doesn't seem quite as
He did from us that watched the show, I think, because we liked that he was a very entertaining heel, so I think we popped for that. But if you talk about the WWE universe, dude, they're loud as hell for him tonight and all through this babyface run.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
You know,
the match itself was good tonight.
I'm sorry. I'll be honest. This was one of the matches, along with Joe versus Rollins, that I thought dragged on a little.
Really? I thought this match was better than the WrestleMania match, but I thought the WrestleMania match didn't quite click. So, but yeah, I mean, once it was over, it wasn't like I was remembering it or, thinking what a great match. But I thought it was a good match.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely a good match.
Well, in terms of momentum, and that's the thing for me, that's why when we got to the House of Horrors, it was like, man, what an abrupt switch from what came before it, because I thought this was a solid way to kick off the show. And then following this with Austin Aries versus Neville. Were you surprised, Matt, that Aries only won by DQ and did not get the title tonight?
I think they're between a rock and a hard place, because you have Neville, who there's no more chase. Once he wins the title, Aries, then what?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Neville's such a good heel right now. He's this cocky, arrogant prick that you just want to see him get, his finally and lose that title. So you give it to him this quick. I don't know. As a friend, I wanted to see him win that title, of course. But like business-wise, it's better for Aries if he doesn't win it right now, because he got to kill two birds with one stone. He got the visual victory tonight.
Yeah.
Everyone saw live and directed he could beat him.
Yeah.
So that there's something to be said for that, and the chase still goes on. So we get to see more good matches, which is cool.
Yeah, I think that's the first time that I could be wrong, but I think that's the first time like Neville hasn't won a singles match in the Cruiserweight division.
Feels like it. He's been dominant with everything.
Yeah, so it gives Aries something. It keeps it going because like Matt said, there's just nobody else on that level, and that's why I almost like don't like that they went to Aries already, because you're kind of at your two best guys right away
100%.
Instead of maybe building it for later. But yeah, I thought this match I thought was really good. Obviously, anytime you do a DQ finish, it's it's kind of a groan, but I totally understand why they did it, and I think it was the right call.
It got good heat. I mean, it depends what kind of heat you guys look at, but I thought that was good heat personally. I did.
Yeah.
And let's point out, I don't know if you guys thought this seemed like the most over the loudest pop the Cruiserweights have gotten in, God, I mean, best I remember.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. You go ahead.
Aries is so good. You see him at the end, like he's so good at getting the crowd going, even on nights where they're dead. He's so good with his body language. When it's time to go into his comeback, he'll sell his injury, but then start firing up just the right way where it doesn't look too hokey. And it looks like he's hoking himself up a little bit, but it looks good. Doesn't look corny. Like he's a much better babyface than I thought. I've always liked Austin as a heel. I think he's a tremendous heel. One of my favorite acts. But as a face, I really never gave him the benefit of the doubt. He's a good face.
He is. I still think he's a better heel, but he is a good. He has been doing a good job as a face. I almost think you remember when Stone Cold turned heel, and instead of going with Triple H as a baby face, they were just this heel, twosome that would just ran roughshod on everybody. I almost think it'd be cool if you had Aries and Neville as two heels, just destroying that division. And then you get back to them feuding again. So at least, for a while,
cool.
it keeps them separate as far as, singles matches.
And Austin's Austin Aries is entertaining enough to pull off some of those segments that would need to happen. Those pre-tapes and promos, that Austin and Triple H were doing that set it up perfectly.
Yeah.
And tonight, though, I think it also goes to show, man, just having the crowd on your side. Like it did put a little extra, spring in their step, it seems.
Yeah, this sounded the loudest the crowd was for a Cruiserweight match since they started the division last year.
They put it on the right time of the show as well. They didn't screw them and try to, what's the word? Bookshelf them, you know what I mean?
Right.
Long segments. They finally did the guys justice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was really, really good. Really enjoyable. Tonight.
This might have been the best match on the show.
I was going to say that was one of my favorite matches for sure.
Yeah.
Raw tag team title match: Sheamus and Cesaro versus Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy. Now the Hardys did retain, but one thing of note after this, we saw the heel turn with Sheamus and Cesaro attacking Matt and Jeff. But what did you think of the match overall, Matt?
Good match. Don't care about them turning heel at the end, quite honestly. But you can't help but notice the Matt Hardy stuff, right? You guys were seeing that, right? Like he's starting to try to put some of that broken persona out there, right?
Yeah, he did it more tonight than I mean. You're seeing him add on to it every week, and he had most of it tonight. Like even his backstage promo with Golden Truth.
I like it. I mean, I do. But the match itself, typical, Hardy match. Jeff Hardy gets an incredible amount of sympathy, so why not put the heat on him? The downside of that, though, is you don't get a big Jeff Hardy comeback because of that. You give the Matt Hardy comeback, and Matt Hardy can blow a great comeback, but not like Jeff.
Yeah.
So it's like a double-edged sword there. Like Jeff is the better seller, but he's also the better guy to make the hot tag to as well.
Yeah.
As far as excitement goes, but I don't. The bumps that guy takes, holy crap!
Yeah, that one through the ropes where he was just like straight flat to the outside. I was like, damn.
I don't know how he's able to do this. I don't get it.
Yeah, I think you see the pops kind of dying a little bit. I mean, it's not quiet by any means when they come out. I mean, the crowd still pop big for him, but fans are getting more used to him, and they're kind of getting back to their old roles. And I think, which is fine for now, because then when you do the split, you have Matt go off doing the broken thing. You want to do it more organically than just do it too quick. So
that's true. I also think they're putting him on TV way too often.
Yeah,
like those two are in tag matches every week. Now, part of me is going, well, they're supposed to bolster that tag division. That's why they're there. So you gotta kind of put them in the tag team scenarios that are on Raw every week. I guess I get that part of it. But the other part of me is going, these are humongous stars. If you want to reserve or hold that pop a little bit longer, this nostalgia pop, you can't put them out every week.
Yeah, especially when the previous 2 weeks they beat Cesaro and Sheamus in separate matches, and then they so you beat the challengers already, then you beat them again. And obviously it's going to keep going now that they kind of turned Cesaro and Sheamus heel. And I'm glad that they did that. I think Cesaro could use, a change. He's been a kind of a bland babyface for a while. And Sheamus, he's just way better as a heel.
Yep.
And tomorrow night we get that rebuilding of the tag division with the Golden Truth probably versus the Hardys. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean,
that was so random.
If it's just a Raw match, it's fine. Because again, you don't want them wrestling Cesaro and Sheamus every week. So,
but think about how random that was. Them going backstage and saying, "Hey, we're taking on the winners." That's like freaking what's his name? Lucha guy. What's his name? Lucha Dragon.
Sin Cara or Kalisto.
Just showing up, in Brock Lesnar's locker room and saying, "I want me and you next week." You'd be like, "What? Get your ass back of the line."
But you know what though?
It's kind of where they're going right now, is putting the jobbers in the title matches right now.
And Goldust brought back the stuff, the mind games thing at the end. It was old classic Goldust.
I mean, they got Breezango on SmackDown getting a title shot. It's I don't know.
living in an opposite world when the jobbers are taking over.
Matt, let me. I want to ask you something. Do wrestlers get? Because I've heard this from a few people. Do they get genuinely upset when they're referred to as a jobber, or do
absolutely? It's incredibly disrespectful. Yes.
Even though when they clearly are. Well,
yes.
Like what? How should? What's the respectful way to refer to that?
If you want, why can't they don't have to be called anything? Call them opening, maybe an opening act. Like if you ever notice another thing wrestling fans call guys are mid carders. This guy's a mid carder. Well, shit. At your rate, you're saying every guy in the roster is a mid carder. That can't be the case.
Right.
So what I would do is I don't know. I don't think you have to label it any which way, but you can say this dude who loses all the time, or either way, you can't be excited about that as the wrestler.
Yeah, because when you're going from losing every week to the world title picture, it's easier to say going from jobbing every week to the world title picture.
I see both sides. If you take yourself so seriously, I could see a wrestler getting upset at it, but I've seen wrestlers upset at it, so that's why I'm saying it.
Yeah.
I don't think if I lost a match next week on Impact and then 2 weeks later I'm back to normal, I'm called a job. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think if it's a guy that continues losing, like let's say Brooklyn Brawler, right, or
Yeah.
someone like that back in the day or whatnot, or you call it the enhancement talent.
Yeah. No, I could see that. I mean, and that's the thing. I think it's almost like some guys seem to just get on a streak with that, or they get relegated to the main event superstars. Where, I mean, Bo Dallas has had some wins on those shows, but he's not.
Here's what it is. I'll be honest, guys. This is what I think it is. I think it's you haven't walked an inch in a wrestler's shoes. You haven't taken the bumps. You haven't been in a ring. You haven't done any of that stuff. So I think there's a certain disrespectful tone with the word jobber. In disrespectful connotation. So if a guy off the street says that, you're like, are you fucking kidding me? I would beat the dog shit out of you, and you're calling me a jobber.
Right.
You know what I mean? You could, or better yet, you couldn't do 2 seconds of what I do in a ring, and you're gonna call me a jobber? Like I could see that side of it. I can't.
Yeah, but I think it's more to referring to like the role that wrestler's role a lot of times. Like in a movie you have extras, you have like
you hear how it's said though, right? Come on, it's not saying here comes the jobber. You know what I mean? It's never said in a positive connotation.
Right, but if you were to talk about like the passing of someone who was just there losing every week, like Iron Mike Sharp when he passed away,
you would not call him a jobber. I would kill you if you.
No, not in his epitaph, but when you're describing him, he was he was there
an opening act on the card that may not have won every match, but blah 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 blah.
Not because he's on TV every week, and it's not necessarily the opening match because they had all those jobber matches back then, right? The superstar against the jobber.
I mean, enhancement.
Right. See, I just always think about that. And there was that footnote that you could make a really good career out of being "quote unquote" jobber to the stars and being the guy that is in the main event, but you just keep losing.
I just like when I was on SmackDown or even Impact when I first got there early on. Like they gave me a bunch of enhancement talents to build me up.
Yeah.
I never one time refer to those guys as jobbers.
Oh, yeah.
When discussing to my wife who I wrestled against. You know what I mean? I just think I don't know. That's my opinion. It doesn't mean it's the right one. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I know. It's funny you mentioned that. So I don't know if you guys covered it, but in the last round of who they let go from NXT, Tough Enough winner Josh.
He wasn't let go.
Wait, Josh Burdell?
He wasn't?
No, yeah, he wasn't let go.
Really? That story was everywhere.
Yeah, but that wasn't true. He's still
Big
there.
Action Bronson Matthews is still in NXT?
He is. Yep.
Oh, wow.
Is he on TV?
And I don't think he's been on TV. I think he's just been working the live shows, but yeah.
Interesting. Okay, Rumor Killer. There you go. It came out a day ago. Well, I was gonna say, famously, there was an exchange that happened on Twitter a year ago,
right?
When he called the social outcasts the social jobbers, and then half the roster, the main roster, went off on him. Basically said, if you ever make it to the main roster, you're dressing in the restroom. We're not letting you in the locker room.
Yeah.
So I definitely see where it's an offensive term.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess we've digressed. Let's get back.
Been fooled, people. We'll no longer use that word.
Well, I don't know about that, but
I would just be twice as careful as an outsider saying it too.
Yeah.
Right now.
I'm going to try and find another term for it. Kind of like the Harlem Wizards, the team that always loses to the Globetrotters. It's like there's got to be something else out there.
Washington General.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I took okay. Long. Go ahead.
So let's talk about. No, this is good. This is the insider stuff, Matt. We want this. Okay, so let's talk about tonight. Hometown upset: Alexa Bliss versus Bayley. Bayley's hometown. Bayley lost. New Raw Women's Champion, Alexa Bliss. So now Alexa becomes the first to have the distinction of holding the Raw Women's title and the SmackDown Women's title at separate times. What did you think of the match they put on, Matt?
Sorry. Freaking awesome. Awesome match. Everything. This is my second favorite match in the card, actually. Everything that they did was so well thought out. Obviously well rehearsed, but I don't care. It was still entertaining. It was entertaining to me. The important stuff that they did. The kick out, she goes flying into the turn, like the little things, dude. Those are so hard to pull off. And the timing involved could have been drastically, just by a centimeter, could have thrown that match off. And just the precision that was involved for girls being so young as they are in their career, I was very impressed with. Alexa Bliss is frigging money, obviously. We all know that. Let me ask you guys something. You don't think she's awesome? I love watching her, but is there ever a part of you that gets disconnected because of like how tiny she is? Like she doesn't just look like some little kid, like to you sometimes, or like if you're looking through the channels, you don't watch wrestling, you stop there, you're like, that girl's a champion.
Right. Yeah. It hasn't happened so much yet because she hasn't had that big size disparity. Like if she did, like if she wrestled Charlotte, I think you'd notice it a lot more.
Oh yeah,
That's true.
But there hasn't been anyone that's too big yet.
And I'm being super I'm over analytical. She's probably one of my favorite acts on this show, though.
Oh, she's great.
Presence. Her presence is huge.
Yep, body language, her facials, everything is on point.
No, she's great, and she knows how to react to the crowd. She can shut them up when they're when they're not going her way. She's a natural in the ring. Yeah, at least with with the promos and everything and how she carries herself. Her wrestling has gotten a lot better too.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, she's a stud athlete. She's a world-class athlete.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's fantastic. When I went to my first NXT show, it was like at a metal festival under a tent, and just seeing her live, the way she just commands the crowd and everything. I mean, yeah, her presence is really what sells it for me. I think she's good in the ring, but I definitely see her as a champion. And tonight, the fact that it's her that went over Bayley makes it a lot more palatable. But yeah, the match itself tonight I thought was great. And I mean, talk about suspension of disbelief when Bayley hit the ring post and then got the pin after that. To me, I mean, that it all just seemed very believable. It was fast. It was very well done.
It really was. And a DDT is the right finish, by the way. I love that.
Yeah, I thought that was a really clever finish, and yeah, a great ending to a good match. Just too bad Vince has this fascination with having people lose in their hometowns.
Be embarrassed.
Always happens.
Yeah, but Alexa's the one to do that because, I mean, even in the promo she cut before tonight on a Raw last week, just a great job of selling what that was going to be like. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens on Raw tomorrow.
Yeah, the one thing I think is it just seems a little too soon to already put the title on her. I would have done a DQ or something to keep it going another month or two, because she just came on Raw a couple weeks ago. They haven't really built this feud that much, so I'd like to see a little more beforehand, but. Still, I have no problem with Alexa being champ, and I think she's great.
Yeah, I feel like they just don't have a plan for the women's division, or if they have a plan to keep changing.
Well, I mean, now you could do Alexa and Bayley, you could do Alexa and Sasha. You got Mickey, so you got a bunch of options. So
Mickey, yep.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. So let's talk about what I'm assuming is no one's match of the night. In fact, if this was your match of the night, please leave in the comments and explain why. Part 1 of the House of Horrors match, which started with Randy Orton riding shirtless in a limousine to a house in the middle. I'll give him credit, though. Randy wrestling in pants tonight, I was like, that gear actually looked pretty good on him. It was just ridiculous. He was showing up at a house in his ring gear. Thought that was kind of strange.
That was just to avoid, dude, trust me when I tell you, that was to avoid bumps and scratches in that house. That's the only reason he was wearing pants and elbow pads as well.
He should have worn a shirt too. I mean, what is he
was willing to run the risk so you to see his abs.
Oh man. Okay, so yeah. So we cut to, what was that, like a 10-minute video that felt like it was an hour long?
Yeah, it did.
Oh my God.
And so on Twitter, everyone was talking about it. Everyone was chanting boring. They were booing it that was there in the arena, because if you paid for tickets, man, that must have sucked.
Yeah.
So yeah. At one point,
when they tell you right off the bat that it's going to end up in the ring, what's the point? Just do it in the ring. No.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just, it should seem organic, like with the Roddy Piper. Gold. That's what I was hoping like this would turn into. I thought the Piper Goldust thing ended up being great, and I thought maybe they could pull something like that off. But this was just so freaking stupid.
Let's go back to that. Come on. He was Roddy Piper. We had the white Ford Bronco.
Right.
Down the interstate. Come on. I was watching that the other day. I was like, this is so tacky. I can't believe I thought this was cool at one point.
Other than the Bronco, though, like, the shots that Piper was giving Goldust and their brawl and him hitting him with that baseball bat. It wasn't one of the, I mean, I'm sure it was gimmicks in a way, but you saw Goldust's head, bruise up and he's bleeding.
Definitely. I think we give things in the past, especially when they're in the bigger eras, the golden era, the 80s, let's say, and then like the Attitude Era. I think we give these things huge passes.
Sometimes.
I'll give you an example. Andre the Giant versus Big John Studd. That was my favorite big man feud. I went back and watched that when I signed with WWE as a feud, like to take stuff from. And I was like, this is rotten.
Right.
This was horrible. This was form against each other's chest for 20 minutes. This was rotten.
You know what this? Yeah, go ahead.
And you don't know the difference because back in the time it was during. I just think we give, rightfully so, because these are legends. But I think we fail to realize what happens 15 years from now, 20 years from now, of how people are going to look at certain things that happen today.
Well, to an extent, but also I remember 22 years ago, when Hulk Hogan entered the Dungeon of Doom. You remember that?
I don't remember how I felt. I hope I felt it was tacky.
I remember thinking it was so corny and dumb as hell. When he's like touching the water, and he's like, "Oh, it's hot." Yeah. And
horrible.
It was stupid then. It was stupid now. And that's what this reminded me of. It reminded me of Hogan going into Dungeon of Doom.
With Hogan, though, Hogan was, literally a cartoon character in the 80s. I think you could put him in a variety of scenarios.
Glenn, you got to rewatch this one. This one's
I remember. But also, entertainment wasn't as good back then. We had 10 channels, and 5 of them were on UHF.
That's true. We had Baywatch going on, and I was considered decent acting at the time. Yeah.
Entertainment's so much better now. So it's with tonight with this. Look, and I'm not even saying that the segment so much. It was perfectly, like you said earlier, Matt, like it was shot well. I thought stuff like the fridge segment and some of the hits they were doing in the house, I thought that was creative. It's just, you're doing this as the highlight match of your pay-per-view, as like the big thing you've been hyping up this whole time. The survey they sent out to people was talking about chainsaws and fire and all sorts of other stuff.
Oh, that would have been
awesome.
No, that would have been even cheesier.
I'm just
hoping. What are you going to do with
the
chainsaw?
I'm hoping they're saving that for Great Balls of Fire.
Slow and miss from a mile.
Right, yeah.
They're going to use it in a normal way. Like they use a sledgehammer in the ring. Everybody puts their hand over the top of it and then pokes the guy in the ribs, Perfectly normal.
Why can't he just go out into the yard and chop down a tree with a chainsaw?
Right, yeah.
It's the middle of the match.
So that house was for sale in Missouri for like $36,000, the house that they use. So it, yeah. I doubt they bought it, but I'm sure they just fixed it up and used it. But anyway, just a little piece of trivia.
This could, I'm not saying this could have been great, but it could have been better than it was. And it was just
I think we're wasting time talking about it. It was hokey. We didn't like it.
Yes. A momentum killer on the show.
Yeah, definitely a momentum killer.
Yeah.
A momentum killer to discuss.
I don't think I saw any positive comments on like our Twitter feed, on our comment section. I think it was pretty much unanimously negative. But anyway, let's go on.
Okay. So in your mind, Matt, Rollins versus Samoa Joe, did that recover for you, or was that tainted by what came before it?
I thought that was a match that went on too long, and that was my favorite. That was the match I was looking forward to the most.
Yeah.
I know both guys, and I like both guys on top of it. I don't know. I thought it went on a little bit too long. I don't know why I have that feeling, but I'm telling you, as the match was going on, I'm like, this is really going by slow. I don't know why it is to me, but it just is.
I wonder if the previous thing just kind of killed the momentum a little, to where it was hard for me to get into this match.
Because those two guys are way too good for this to happen, I'm thinking, so we should blame it on the other.
Yeah. Because, this was... I was a little disappointed with how the build for this match has been. It's been kind of like an afterthought, whereas I felt like it should be promoted just to like a lot more, like one of the main events. And you almost forget that this was one of the matches on the show.
Yeah.
And I thought the match was good, but it was lacking a little bit. And I think that the momentum and everything from before.
Hey guys, give me 1 second. I'm here at home with my 3-year-old. Give me 1 second.
Yeah,
absolutely. What'd you think, Glenn?
Oh, man, same thing. It was like, okay, now's your chance to win me back, guys. Like, I just sat through this, digested it. Now I wanted so much for this just to come and knock it out of the park. I'm really surprised they didn't put Bayley and Alexa in this position, because that was so well done. That. Yeah,
but again, you put something well done.
Oh yeah,
in the death spot, it could have killed. Yeah, so.
So I guess it's good that was protected from this. Matt, let me ask you, what's the hardest match you ever had to follow?
Oh, God, probably one of them X Division 2 matches with AJ in it or something.
Yeah.
Kurt Angle versus AJ Styles.
Wow.
Me and Joe had to follow that.
Yikes.
We're like, what the?
Yeah, that That'd be hard for anybody.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm horrible. Let me go shut this off. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. When it's thinking about it, it's probably easier to follow. I mean, you see this in comedy, you see this in music. It's probably a lot easier to follow a bad act than a good act, because you can get there and be like, okay, we're going to get everyone back. But to follow a great act, it's like, oh crap, I'm the cool down. Like that would suck too. You know?
Well, it's both ways, because if something just kills the crowd, you have to be special to get them back. You know, you see that all the time where there's just some bad match that just quiets the crowd and it's hard to get it back.
I didn't think about that, about the House of Horrors match, maybe doing that to that match, but I think you might be right,
because especially the fans in the crowd, they're just sitting there watching a screen for 15 minutes, you know, before this came on. So
they were just watching on the big jumbo screen. That was it.
Yeah.
And booing and chanting.
Yeah.
Before the House of Horrors match, because I mean, this was in San Jose tonight. I was like, oh, I kind of wish we'd gone. You know, this is a pretty solid pay-per-view. And then that came on, and it was like, oh no, we dodged a bullet there. It was bad. So yeah, I think Rollins and Joe, I think that definitely tainted the crowd a bit. I think it was that much harder, especially because they were sandwiched between that, right? I mean, so we saw that match, and then boom, we got House of Horrors Part 2, bringing it into the arena. I mean, that's
And then Joe beat clean, you know.
Like that.
He had one pay-per-view match before with Sammy, but this is his first big pay-per-view match, and you know, kind of getting beat clean right off the bat. His shoulder was up. I don't know if it was an accident or if they'll use it as a storyline. But man, you know, I'm getting worried about how he's going to be used on this main roster if he's losing right off the bat.
Yeah, me too. Sometimes it goes the other way. Let's hope it does. I don't know how it doesn't. I mean, everything he does in that ring is like spot on perfect, from his jabs to everything.
Mm-hmm.
He's a whole different level of intensity than anybody else I see on that show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I believe in Joe. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, he doesn't have the body that would make me be scared of somebody, let's say. But once that bell rings, I believe everything he does. I remember that working with him at TNA and watching our stuff back going, I believe his shit more than my own. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I believe in his offense, like his punches, his kicks, his stomps, his chops, more so than even my own. And I'm a pretty arrogant guy. And I'm like going, there's something to be said for that. And he has that more than anybody on that roster. If you watch, everything he does is with just this malicious, this malice intent.
Yeah.
And they've got to stop screwing with it, and it's got to start paying off in victories.
Yeah. So Jeff Hardy, one thing we forgot to mention during his match, but he lost a tooth after during his match. Yeah.
Talking about it. Okay.
Yeah.
And so there's video. If you go to Wrestling Inc. right now, you'll see a video of the broken tooth and him getting medical attention for it. So,
man. So here's the good news about this with Joe. And this is like how I feel about this pay-per-view tonight. They cleared out all the stuff, all the old stuff, all the stuff they sort of got stuck with. Tomorrow night on Raw is a chance to start anew. We got rid of the House of Horrors match. We got rid of the weird stipulation with Kevin Owens going to SmackDown, coming over to do this match. You know, I feel that now Raw can chart its own course post-Superstar shakeup. There was a lot of leftover tonight.
And at live events now, they're going to start sticking with the new brands, because they still had, the people that had switch brands still working like their old brands. So now it's all set going forward.
Well, good. I'm excited to see that. So part 2 of the House of Horrors match. I mean, I guess the big thing to talk about here is the way in which Bray Wyatt ultimately got the win, which was Jinder Mahal after him and the Singh brothers. Yeah, after Jinder stole the title on SmackDown. Man, what a segment that was this past week. Jinder shows up to beat Randy with the title. So I want to get your take on that, Matt, since you're not on our Wednesday SmackDown recap. What do you think about Jinder just now being at this level, being the number 1 contender?
I love it. I think here's one that looks the part. Again, he's not some 5'6" guy coming in there, or he's not some fat out of shape dude with bitch tits coming in there. He's a guy coming in there that looks the part. I think he's still young a little bit too much in his promos, and he needs to chill out. But nonetheless, physically looks the part. I think he can definitely wrestle the part. There's no question about that. And only time will tell what they do after this is done. I hope he's able to earn his way to stay right underneath that main event, maybe the Intercontinental U.S. champion type of level, wrestler. You know, well, he's not going to stay in the main event forever. Obviously, I hope.
I think he could be a main event heel, or at least a mid card.
I definitely do. I'm just being realistic with. I know Vince.
Yeah.
I hope he's able to be talked. You know, Hunter, or whoever else is there, will be able to talk him up enough to keep him in that spot. Because here's the thing: as much as I love him, his promos are not main event yet. He's still yelling into the mic. He's still cutting 80s facial promos.
Yeah. His promos definitely have that, like someone that's trying to play pro wrestler. Like when you're imitating a pro wrestler to a friend, you know, that's like the kind of promo you'd cut. But to your point, Matt, he does kind of look the part. Like when he was in the ring there tonight, like the Singh brothers don't, you know, they look like two scrawny guys. But when Jinder was in there, he looked like, you know, he belonged. Now, my issue has always been, I don't mind you pushing him. Just don't give him some wins and get him some steam before you do it.
Yep.
But, you know, that they didn't do it that way. But he does look the part. And, man, I'm telling you, Orton bores the crap out of me right now. So I actually wouldn't mind Jinder winning and you know, facing like AJ Styles and moving.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
that's great. I'm all for that.
Yeah. No, absolutely. No, I loved seeing him tonight. I think he's got a lot of potential. Maybe you know what it is that I don't think he has that disconnect that just because you're angry doesn't mean you have to yell all the time.
Well, here's what it is. As a guy who used to do that, like my first 5 years into my career, I'll tell you what it is. He doesn't know who he is. They're not letting him be who he really is. Yeah. Okay. So when that happens, like look at my stuttering character. I had to stutter in my promos. I don't know how to do that shit. You know, I do it to my best of my ability, but I don't really know how to do that, right? It's not something that naturally I do. So when you're putting someone in a situation that's unnatural, it's going to come across as hokey more times than not.
Yeah.
And they're putting him in this spot where he's playing this caricature, because that's what it is at times to me when he's talking, this 80s caricature of Vince's idea of what a Middle Easterner should be playing, unfortunately, still stuck behind the times. And why can't he just be a guy that's in today's day and age who talks like me and you, who just happens to be of that descent? I don't understand why that's so hard to do. And his promos will be better because of it. He won't be yelling.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
And technically not even of Middle Eastern descent, but they're playing him that way. I mean, they're
playing him that way. He's not, but that's what they're making him look like.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, they're playing him as Indian, but he's actually from Canada. Yeah, but of Indian descent.
Is he from Canada?
Yeah.
Oh Lord, what? I don't get it. Just get out of these people's way and let them be themselves. Like, whatever. I'll shut up.
No, it's good. I mean, look, man. In fact, I think Jinder, you want to talk anger, so forget this weird anti-American thing. I think, to what you pointed out before, it's like Jinder's anger should be that he puts in more of the work on his body than anyone else in the roster, and he's pissed off that he keeps getting passed over for these scrawny guys, these out-of-shape guys like Kevin Owens, and Jinder deserves a real shot,
Yep.
right there.
Yeah, that's a lot better.
And people will be like, well, as a heel, you shouldn't be saying things that are necessarily too true, because then the crowd will agree with him. Well, then that's when you turn on the crowd and go, and I look better than each and every one of you, too. So I don't know what you're talking about. You're the dude, bitch tits, I'm talking about.
That's why it's like when they did the whole make Darren Young great again. If you had someone like just doing clips of Jinder working out with somebody, and it's like working out to, like get in the main event shape and destroy people, and you go that route, I just think it's a lot more believable and not as hokey.
Yep.
And in fact, one better, how many times both Alexa and Charlotte use that genetic superiority, like good breeding, good upbringing? It's like Jinder's like, forget genetic superiority, I actually worked for this, and you're telling me that I'm lesser than a lot of these guys. I mean, it's true. And I love your point about turning on the crowd. It's absolutely true. Us Smarks, we love Kevin Owens because he looks like one of us, and I think Jinder could just be amazingly genuine and come across really well that way. So it's sad they're not doing it.
Yeah, dude cheering for me right now in the third row. You're just as bad. Put a bra
on. So okay, man. So we closed the night with what I think was an up point, was an improvement over the whole House of Horrors nonsense. Roman Reigns versus Braun Strowman, an extensive match that was notable for one, Roman losing clean, but two, that it continued over into Raw talk after the show. But that being said,
I didn't see it. Don't tell me that part.
Oh, I'm sorry. There was just some backstage, I'm not done with you yet, blah, blah, blah.
Roman said he's not done with him?
Well, no, but then Braun did that. I'm not done.
Oh, he attacked him again?
Yeah, you didn't see that? I thought we were gonna not start the podcast after I figured you guys were watching also, because I was watching that. I'm like, oh, this is going on into Raw talk. That's kind of weird.
No, it shut off when Roman was walking by the booth and denying the, what do you call it?
Yeah. No, they had him backstage, and just and then Roman hit Braun with like the ambulance door into a pile of empty cardboard boxes, which I thought was a nice touch. Yeah.
So how did it end? Who was like standing?
Once they went to Roman was standing and Braun kind of like was keeled over, but then once they went to Jerry and Renee, I was like, oh, okay, I guess we better start the podcast.
Roman Reigns should be dead. They should be picking him up with a spatula.
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about. I'm glad they didn't show this in the pay-per-view. I hope no fan saw that, actually, because it's bad for his character. This was his opportunity to get sympathy.
Yeah,
right. Obviously, the arena was booing the crap out of him and saying you deserve it, but nonetheless, can I just say something about that real quick?
Yeah.
What the hell is wrong with you people? Whether you like Roman Reigns or not, chanting you deserve it. Like he's the guy who has his pen and puts it to paper in the back locker room area and says, I'm going to wrestle this guy and I'm going to go over every single time. Or I'm the guy that's going to beat this guy. And he doesn't make any of those decisions. That's the office. So instead of hating on a guy with such vitriol, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just such, I don't know what the word is. It's a different kind of hate, guys. I know you feel it.
It's like venom.
Yeah. Like, yell at the office, start chanting "Fire Russo" or something. but not like, I don't get it. I don't understand it. Like, this guy busts his ass. I don't know. I get you don't like him being shoved down your throat. I understand this, but he ain't the one doing it.
But at the same time, they are saying you deserve it to a worked injury. Like it's one thing if it was like a real injury.
Yeah, if it was like Enzo getting knocked out last year.
You know what it is? Maybe it's me hoping as a babyface. Like, there's times I can maybe fool these people into thinking maybe a little bit of me is hurt right here because I am kind of spitting up blood. You should have sympathy on me a little bit here. F you for not having it.
Yeah.
I bought it at the end before I figured it was before it was looked a little too blood capsule-y. I was like, oh, Roman looks really legitimately hurt, and I was like, no, not buying it. But he did sell it pretty well.
I thought he did a great job selling. I thought.
Yeah.
At the end, I mean, he looked like he got ran over by a truck. So I thought
he sure did.
He put Braun over strong, So
yeah, Braun looked. He looked awesome tonight.
Yeah,
awesome.
That was a great match.
What has to happen though? Like, how do they get away from this after second time in a row, pay-per-view in a row with them second time in a row them chanting "You deserve it" after their top babyface almost being killed, literally killed. Because remember the ambulance being tipped over and them chanting "You deserve it" too that week. Like, what has to happen for Roman Reigns, the character, just to be like, "F you people, I'm over you." You know what I mean? Like, what has to happen?
Oh,
nothing.
I think it's because
Vince is not going to do it. Vince will not allow Reigns to turn heel.
How is it not natural at this point? How is it not natural in every sense of the word for him not to be infuriated with the fan?
Yeah.
It does, and you've seen every other time in the past when they've gone with what the fans kind of want, it works out for the best. When they were, The Rock is obviously a big one. When fans were chanting "Die Rocky Die" and booing the hell out of him, they turned him heel. They went with it, and it got over huge. There's no reason why you shouldn't do it because you could turn him back babyface down the road anyway. At least try it out and see what happens.
Right. Yeah. The Daniel Bryan stuff, CM Punk stuff, like when they listen to the fans, I thought it turned out great in all those scenarios.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I could almost see Vince trying to play into this since the next Raw pay-per-view is Extreme Rules and coming out giving one of his speeches again about how the fans are bloodthirsty and all that stuff.
I wonder what they're gonna do for the next one because do they have Reigns lose to Braun again? Because Lesnar's not defending until the next pay-per-view, which we'll talk about here in a minute once we're done.
Sorry, every couple every so often these past couple days, I remember what the next pay-per-view is called after Extreme Rules, and it's just giggle maniacally. That's great. So I don't know. I don't know what the path is, but yes, Brock will indeed be back for Great Balls of Fire in July.
Yeah, Great Balls of Fire.
You guys are expecting a bigger pop from me, and I'm not giving it to you.
Matt's like, I worked for this company. Nothing surprises me.
I think Vince's face on it is ridiculous. That's what I thought. Unless that was like a screenshot I saw. Is Vince like dressed as Caesar on the front of this?
No.
Oh, then I just saw a random tweet that somebody posted with Vince. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh no, you know what? Somebody tweeted at us. I think somebody tweeted at us just even what the name of it was. I thought that was a fan working us, being, you know, like making fun of something. I was like, oh, it can't really be that. And then I was like, nope, it's totally that.
Great balls of fire. So Braun saying, Brock and great balls of fire. I will destroy you.
You can't say the pay-per-view. You cannot say that pay-per-view in a promo. I'm forbidding that whole roster to do it because it's going to sound ridiculous.
And it's that's going to be Lesnar's return. So you're going to be having Paul Heyman cutting promos about great balls of fire.
Paul will have to clown it a little bit somewhere in there. He has to.
Oh, my gosh.
I want to see how he gets around that, actually. That would be interesting to see.
All I'm saying is by
what the hell? How can they think that's a good idea? They have all the WCW names that they could use. They could use Great American Bash, you know, Spring Stampede or any Stampede, and they go with Great Balls of Fire.
Nothing for nothing. God. I always thought WCW's pay-per-view names overall, from top to bottom, were much better.
I thought so too. Halloween Havoc, I thought was badass. War Games. Starrcade, I always thought was solid.
Starrcade was a big sounding one. Yep.
Bash at the Beach. Yeah. Paul Brawl was another one. Yeah. So they could easily jump into any of those, but they're going with this.
Jersey Lewis.
Right.
Bring back NWO Sold Out at this point. But no, yeah, Great Balls of Fire. To me, this is like Southpaw regional wrestling territory. Although Lethal Leap Year is far more badass.
I like Lethal Leap Year better than way better.
Lethal Leap Year.
Oh man, just hopefully in 2020.
Of that, guys, I'm sorry. Is there any more new episodes yet?
No, I don't think they're doing it.
Just the 4.
Oh,
that was it. Remember, the promotion died because there was no leap year that year.
Right. Damn.
Yeah. Anyway,
WWE creative really has a wide spectrum, right? Because on one end of the spectrum, there's stuff like that. There's stuff like the backstage beatdown with the ambulance, Festival of Friendship, and then the other end of the spectrum, there's the House of Horrors match. You know, it's like real range creative has.
Again, I didn't like tonight's House of Horrors match, whatever the hell it's called. Let me be very clear. I do like them taking chances, though. Even though it was suckiness for 15 minutes straight, I do like the risk they're willing to take. Because one day it could be the risk they take that's something that's incredible that we really, really like.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, Matt. Do you think, so, you know, obviously they're leading to Braun against Lesnar, probably at Great Balls of Fire. Do you think you have Lesnar beat Braun clean, keep going, or
I can't believe I'm going to say this. I think Braun wins. No, why not? Is there a WrestleMania rumor yet?
Yeah, well, remember the WrestleMania rumor is Reigns and Lesnar.
Then oh boy.
But do you keep the title on Lesnar all year, or do you have him drop it, win it back? You know,
or it could go it doesn't make sense to go the opposite and put on Reigns and have them face each other at Mania, right? No, I don't know. That's so hard to tell. I just know right now with what's going on now in the immediate future, I don't see how you don't have book Braun to win.
And you got this monster. You've done such a great job booking him, and he's there every week. It almost seems like you should have him beat Lesnar, because then you got it on a young talent, which they haven't made many new stars, and you got a new monster. You got a new Lesnar, basically, and you could still use Lesnar, and you could do a return match down the road. But I think you should have Braun beat Lesnar.
And do you have Paul Heyman be his advocate?
No, I don't think Brock would allow that.
Okay.
Because Brock's whole thing was he will not do promos, because that's why they brought him back. Was he did those promos a couple of weeks and he just hated it and was like, you guys got to bring Paul in. So that's his purpose. It sounds silly now too, because it's the same thing now with Paul doing Brock's promos, that it's not near as effective as it used to be.
It'd be really good for Braun right now.
Just
have
yelling
Paul?
isn't doing it for
Yeah,
you?
absolutely to have Paul. Are you kidding me? Can you imagine?
Oh, of course, yeah, for sure.
With him as world champion, if Braun's going to be world champion, he's going to need something.
Yeah.
I don't know what that something is. I mean, he's believable because he's a monster. But then there's the old adage, then he's got to talk, right? He's got to say something. And then that's where it's going to, I don't know. Something needs to be done. I don't know what that is. Something small, just one little twist. I don't know what it is, though.
Give him perhaps a stutter? Or
Oh.
No.
I can't wait to see Brock's face. I want to see Brock's face when Paul Heyman is saying, "My client had great balls of fire."
It's going to be brutal.
Just see if Lesnar cracks.
Oh man, yeah, I don't know. But I thought Braun looked great tonight.
Yeah, I didn't think it was as good as their other match, but I thought it was still good.
Yeah.
You didn't like tonight's match?
No, I liked it, but they remember the one they had at Fastlane. That was just like, I thought that one was like off the hook, and this one was good too. But I thought their first one was better.
Yeah. So final thoughts on tonight's pay-per-view, Matt.
I don't even know what kind of grade to give it, honestly. I liked the early parts of it. I hated the middle of it, and then I liked the very end of it. So I don't know what that ranks, guys. Is that a 6? Is that a 7? I don't know.
Yeah, that's the same here. It's like I liked pretty much the whole thing except for the Orton stuff, but the Orton was so bad, and it was 2 parts. So, I'd almost say a C+.
I mean, because it killed Seth versus Joe, man. It hurt it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. If not for the stupid House of Horrors thing, I would say this was one of the more solid top to bottom pay-per-views, but that was so terrible.
And on paper, it was coming into it, by the way. I was like, I thought this pay-per-view was going to be a sleeper because, again, Joe versus Rollins on any other night, to me, is a great match.
Yeah.
I don't know. Raj might be onto something with them, what they're doing with Joe. I don't know.
Yeah. We'll see. So we're going to talk a little bit more about what's going on right now. Indeed, maybe give a little more thought and laughter to Great Balls of Fire. Also talk about what's the latest with Matt Hardy and the Broken Gimmick. But before we do that, I want to give some love to the sponsor of this episode, DDPY, DDP Yoga. So if you saw tonight Chris Jericho, that amazing reversal he did at Kevin Owens' pop-up powerbomb, how did he have that flexibility and agility, you ask? DDPY. Lots of stars are using DDP Yoga, including Chris Jericho, as I mentioned, AJ Styles, Mick Foley, Goldust, and tons of other stars who have taken control of their health and their lives using DDPY. And for a limited time, you can get 3 months of full access to the DDP Yoga Now app, plus 25% off the DDPY DVDs when you use our link at ddpyoga.com/wrestlinginc. Or if you're digital only, you can get the DDP Yoga Now app for just a straight 25% off. Also a special deal where you can buy a max or combo pack at 25% off and get 50% off the second one. You've heard us talk about it. You've heard about all the great success stories, all the people that have lost weight, improved their flexibility, improved their agility, and how using DDP Yoga. Go and check it out. Tell them we sent you, ddpyoga.com/wrestlinginc, and we thank them for sponsoring the podcast.
All right, guys. And real quick, if you guys want to throw some questions too, we could probably get a couple in. Just use hashtag Wrestling Inc.
So what's happening with the Broken Gimmick, Raj? What's the word on this?
So the word was that WWE was working with Impact to get the gimmick, and Rebby Hardy, Matt's wife, shot that down on Twitter saying that there's no truth to that. So I'm surprised that WWE would use it when there's a possible legal consequence. If what Rebby is saying is true. Unless WWE is working their own thing out with Impact. So it remains to be seen, but it's clear Matt's using it a lot more. When he would first do that little delete chop, he wouldn't say delete. Like tonight, he was saying delete. So we'll see. I mean, it's in their best interest to get it because Matt's, if they don't, I think Matt's going to get stale pretty quick. So yeah, that's kind of where that's at.
Do you think so? We were talking about this earlier, Matt. So do you think it's time for them to split them up and do this story?
Yeah, I think they're very close to it. Yeah, I think you get 2 main event stars out of it if you're able to go that direction with Matt specifically. If you're not, Jeff at least is a main eventer, singles act, and Matt somewhere in that intercontinental level.
Yeah, how is it they're only like 2 or 3 years apart in age, but Jeff looks relatively young and Matt looks about 10 to 15 years older?
Jeff don't care. There's something to be said about not giving a shit about anything.
Yeah.
In a good way. Being never stressed out, no anxiety. Jeff is just the most calm, relaxed human being I've ever been around. Nothing phases him. Whereas Matt is a deep thinker. I'm very similar to Matt in that regard. I'm like, you stay up all night thinking and worried about things that, like, things could be going great. And you'll still be, thinking and worrying, making, mountains out of molehills no matter what, So it's just like one of those deals where I think there's Matt, the stress of the business takes a little bit more of a toll on you in that regard than somebody like Jeff. I'm not saying Jeff isn't thinking about the business, but not to the level that Matt is.
I think that makes sense.
Someone's asking where Seth Rollins goes from here. I think probably still feuding with Samoa Joe.
I hope so. So Joe gets his win back or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, they don't really end feuds with one match, So I'm sure they're tied to each other. Wow, it'll be interesting to see where Bray Wyatt goes, because it did look like Finn Balor for a little bit, but if Finn is going with Miz,
which is better in the long run, trust me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I guess they could go with Dean Ambrose, but they've done that before, and
I think it's going to be Bray versus Dean, isn't it?
I mean, they could.
Yeah, we'll see. Here's an interesting question. Dang MQ asks, who does Asuka finally lose to? I don't know if you guys saw it, but so Asuka now has broken Goldberg's record for being undefeated.
Great. Who cares? Do I think who beats her? I don't think any. Maybe nobody does. Maybe she just gets called up and has to forfeit the title.
Oh yeah, that'd be kind of cool if they continued the streak on WWE, the main roster, and being like, this woman's never lost. She never lost in NXT, and she's still undefeated. And you could just keep that going. If you had to have someone beat her, I'd probably say Ember Moon. But I like the idea of just keeping her unbeaten and being this monster on the main roster.
Yeah. I mean, unless there's some other girl that they've got that hasn't been on TV yet, like an Awesome Kong type character, that maybe we're unaware of. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. Cool, guys. So before we take this home and wrap it up here, Matt, anything you want to plug?
No. Impact Pop TV Thursday nights, 8:00 Eastern Standard Time. Check out me on Instagram at BP Matt Morgan, at Twitter at BP Matt Morgan, 5percentnutrition.com for all your pre, intra, and post workout subs. I have my men's physique show July 22nd, unless that changes. And next set of Impact tapings should be July 2nd through the 6th, I believe.
Cool.
So all that good stuff. Follow me on social media, and I'll tell you more about that stuff as it comes.
All right. Well, have a good one, guys.
Yeah, so Raj and Matt will be back tomorrow night to talk Raw. I'm actually going to a SmackDown Live house show tomorrow night, and then look for me on the ramp Tuesday nights on SmackDown. I'll be wearing my Wrestling Inc. t-shirt. And back
no
here,
one's going to look for you on the ramp, Glenn.
They did. I got tweeted last time when I wore my Hype Bros shirt. You couldn't miss me, man. I was bright yellow.
Oh, Lord.
You got your Wrestling Inc. shirt, right? You're gonna
I got the Wrestling Inc. shirt I'm going to wear this time. Represent. Maybe I'll make a sign, Matt. Maybe I'll be like,
Make a sign that says Matt Morgan says nobody cares about me. I dare you to.
That beats my first choice of you can't hinder Jinder, but
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Cool, guys. So I'll be back here on Wednesday. So Matt, I'll see you next Monday. And until next time, folks, stay tuned. And we'll see you next time on the Wrestling Inc. podcast.